Die Hard, directed by John McTiernan, follows New York cop John McClane as he visits his estranged wife Holly in California for her company's Christmas party. Soon after he gets there, a group of German terrorists led by Hans Gruber take everyone at the party, including Holly, as hostages, and John is the only one who can save them. No words can properly describe how good Die Hard is. It is literally a perfect movie. It is both the best movie I've ever seen, and it is easily my favorite movie. In this video, I would like to explain why Die Hard is the best action movie ever made, and what it got right that other action movies constantly get wrong. First, the villain. Alan Rickman was fantastic as Hans Gruber. He's the perfect example of a menacing villain who isn't sympathetic, and he just wouldn't work if it wasn't for Alan Rickman's stellar performance. Next, the action. None of the action seems dull. All the action scenes are different and unique, and they keep you wondering what the outcome will be. They make you worried about the hero, which is a rare accomplishment in action movies these days. Many action movies also struggle with having action just for the sake of having action. Die Hard avoids this mistake. Every action scene has a purpose and advances the plot. For example, his first kill in the movie is Tony Vareski. He kills him after a long fight by throwing Tony and himself down the stairs. He then takes a walkie-talkie from him, which he uses to talk to Hans Gruber and Sergeant Powell later in the movie. His conversations with Powell are very important since he tells John what is going on outside of Nakatomi Plaza and vice versa. He also steals a machine gun from Tony and uses his body to inform Hans that he has killed one of his men and he has a machine gun, which is also one of the movie's most memorable moments. The same applies to all action scenes in this movie. None of them seem useless or if they're just there to entertain you. All advance the plot in their own unique way. This cannot be said for most action movies. Many only have action scenes since it has been 20 minutes since the last one, and they have to give you a new one. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it makes the action feel cheap and undeserved. In Die Hard, all the action feels earned and important, and it doesn't feel as if you could skip the scene and not miss a thing, as with many other action movies. Next, I want to talk about John McClane and his relationship with Holly. John McClane is just a normal, everyday cop. He isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone, like they originally wanted, which kinda has to make you wonder if they really knew what they had in Die Hard, but it's a separate discussion. He can't just throw people out of a window with ease or throw them across the room. He struggles in every single one of his hand-to-hand fights. This makes him a far more relatable character. He's just an everyday guy who's in the wrong place at the wrong time. When we're first introduced to John, he's in a bachelor mindset. He looks at other women in the airplane and in the terminal, and even after his wife is taken hostage and he's running around trying to save her, he still looks at other women. This is kind of his character arc. He goes from looking at other women to running past them, not even noticing them since his wife's life is in danger. His character arc is perfectly embodied and was probably the best scene in the movie. John is almost certain he's going to die. He's almost died nearly times, his feet are all cut up, and he barely has any ammo left. All he wants to do is save his wife, and that's all he's thinking about, and he knows that he only has one more chance. Before enacting his final plan, he radios to Powell. He tells him that he has a feeling he's going to die. He tells him to give his wife a message to his wife, to tell her, "It took me a while to figure out what a jerk I've been. When things started to pan out for her, I should have been more supportive, and I should have been behind her more. She's the best thing to ever happen to a bum like me. She's heard me say I love you 1,000 times, but she's never heard me say I'm sorry. Tell her that John said he was sorry." This scene and what it represents is one of the many things that set Die Hard apart from other action movies. No other action movie so heavily relies on the hero's love interest. Almost all have one, but they are rarely the focal point of the film, and they're mainly just there to be like a damsel in distress. Die Hard at its core is a movie about John realizing what a jerk he's been to Holly. Die Hard is not just an action movie, but it's a story about this relationship. But all of this character development is lost in the sequels. But we don't talk about those now. That is what breaks my heart about them. John seems to lose that message, and he returns to being a jerk to her again, which seems kind of out of character for him. And this is not the only way that the other sequels ruin this movie. A couple final things that make this movie perfect. This movie is funny when it wants to. It did not have to include any humor, but it does, and it just works. A great example of this is when John throws the dead body onto Powell's car. Reginald VelJohnson was great, and he didn't even have to be in that scene. The scene could have just been John throws the body off the roof and then Powell calls for backup. But Die Hard goes above and beyond to make sure you have a good time watching it. Some action movies will even bog down scenes with jokes just because they don't trust their movie to keep you entertained. Die Hard trusts itself to keep you entertained, so they are willing to leave long periods of time between laughs. And lastly, you can't talk about Die Hard without mentioning the fantastic and memorable one-liners. There's so many, and while there are the obvious few that you'll remember, if you rewatch Die Hard, there's so many great ones that deserve to be discussed more than they are. Those things are what set Die Hard apart from other action movies, and that is why Die Hard is the greatest action movie ever made. Thank you all for watching. Please make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment for which movie or TV show you would like us to discuss next.